Hey Carl, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Sorry I'm a few minutes late and joining on Zoom. Our work session just ran a little long today, but I'm here. Thanks for
Okay.
being patient.
Our video feed might be a little messed up. You'll have to let me know if that's working at all.
Okay, yeah, I'm just seeing like a still image of the side of your head, Derek, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it's all right. I can
know.
hear.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that we'll have working video for whatever reason. So,
No
but
problem.
yeah.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining. I believe the verbiage is a roll call, I think, and for our committee
Okay.
members.
All right. All right. Roll call. Carl Schnittker,
Here.
Ron Wakefield,
Here.
Chris Brosh.
Here.
All right. All present for the committee.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And the one adjustment that we thought we'd make to this agenda and the order would be we have Grady available to speak to the snowmaking trailer and so moving that to the top as far as an update on where things stand with that and um that the trailer and our work towards a purchase and what role that can play in Kendall's future. Um, at this point, I do have an update on that number, and it is 9,000 and 325 remaining left. I think in the packet, it just had the parts for repairing that pump, which brought it to the 11,380, I think. 11,380. So as far as what we've invested into this thus far, and a purchase from Silverton Mountain, to get a trial run going last winter, which I think about 10 hours of operation, got a 16th of an acre of snow made. Um, and yeah, if you would feel like sort of sharing any insight into that trailer and
So this is a self-contained swimming trailer. It has a high pressure, it has a gas engine with a high pressure water pump, an air compressor. All you need to do is provide water to it. And that it's has some, depending on temperatures, it has okay capabilities. I used it for a couple seasons up at Silverton Mountain. And we were able to make some pretty good snow. But it's not the cure all for covering the entire mountain. That would be a lot of labor intensive to do it. But it would be great for filling voids, making features, enhancing Kendall Mountain. Um, it would have been cured last winter. Probably not as warm as it was. The temperatures weren't there, but it does have some capacity, some capabilities, and the price is pretty good. All being said and done. I don't know if there's anything more you'd like to hear.
How is it for maintenance? Is there a lot of maintenance involved with that, repairs?
Um, so we were using it at Silverton Mountain and we were pulling from Cement Creek, which is a very acidic water. It made great snow, but it also took some toll on the pump. And so from the corrosion that it created. So that was the only real maintenance. We probably ran it up there for upwards of about 250 hours. And pretty much flawless the whole time. Just keep adding gas to it and add water and it kept making snow. And so I haven't really, other than the issues with the pump that was created from pulling from Smith Creek, it's in good working order.
Okay. Next question I have, do we have enough water rights to make all this happen?
Um, so calculation I had for about the 805 acre feet of water at the Kendall Bridge, we could cover Blue with 200 feet of snow. If power wasn't, an issue and the cost of it, operation. I think you said I'm trying to remember the amount of gallons of gas you went through in that 10-hour operation.
Yeah, it was around 30 gallons.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say like 3 gallons an hour or something is what it came out to be as far as fuel consumption.
The noise level on that then?
I mean, the gas motor, it's the same motor that is on the evac motor for the lift. And so it's not a loud, it's a gas engine. It's not super loud, but it's not quiet either. But then again, I made snow for 10 hours and nobody really even knew I was doing it, other than the water dropped in the tank. But it's fairly quiet, put it that way.
Okay.
And the distance you are from, the nearest housing.
Sure.
And if you open the doors and had the door set, so they went up into the hillside and set it into town, but that's a great question. And it's not that noisy.
Okay.
I don't know if you were there to see that fan guns going right on the bridge for the ski joring.
Yeah.
Those, it's very similar, if not even quieter than that.
I was impressed with how that was a big concern of mine. And actually, when I biked over there the morning that he had it operating, I was like, oh my gosh, wow, yeah.
So next question, how's that fit into your budget?
Well, some of that there's some other items here that we'll discuss that say could shift to allow this to fit, and it could be one of those. My understanding is there's not a huge rush to get this sold from Silverton Mountain standpoint. So could it be that come December, we explore what we have left in the operations and repairs and maintenance for Kendall? Put that towards it, and then first of the year,
So it's not an immediate deal that we need to do.
yeah. But just wanted to keep it, not let it evaporate into the background and then fall come around and we're sitting there like, oh yeah, we were gonna try and get the snowmaking trailer. So yeah, just trying to.
On it, if we are looking at, say, for the potential of an early 2027 purchase, it's something we could definitely talk about as a request for the 2027 budget. And remind me, you were looking into a grant opportunity, but has that fizzled or?
Yeah, we did not get awarded that
Okay.
grant. So it was for equipment. Yeah. And yeah, I feel like it's something to keep on the committee's mind and in the
Keep looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And would look for, the direction of continuing to pursue this.
Yes.
So.
Awesome. Good with that, Carl? Are you still there?
Yeah, totally. I think I was just about to say, I think that I'd love to revisit this when we have a better idea about the budget, because I think it would be great. But obviously we got a lot of competing priorities.
Yes, we do.
In strategizing spending down the end of the operations budget last year, we were able to utilize the 13th month for the pump parts and would have come in pretty close to being able to purchase the entire thing, just for reference. But it was wanted to trial run it before just throwing all the eggs in the basket and saying, well, the money's left in the budget, and however that system works, and then it cycles back around.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. I personally really appreciate that. That's your approach. I think that's right on.
So But yeah, wanted to thank you, Grady, for making our opportunity to at least give it a trial run, see what it can do and yeah, making the pump repair happen and so, yeah,
Good use.
excellent.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Excellent. So now we'll just jump back into kind of the order of things. Felt like some sort of going through some of what's been accomplished would be worth doing. And then sort of some of those future needs. And then I kind of roll into some of the areas where we'd love some direction. But with the chimney, those were in pretty bad shape. Entire bricks were just missing. And then on the other chimney, the mortar was proud and the bricks were just disintegrating. So we were able to, I was able to get Lauren Lou up there to repair that. And actually, this vent right here goes right into the chimney, gets the bad air out of the building. Well, it also releases the heat out of the building too. So Lauren's he investigated and feels like it's worthy to just cap it. And so we can cap that chimney now and also save some heat. He's just waiting on those parts to come in. And then pretty good success with the roof. We don't need 4 buckets anymore, so that's good. That was kind of late October and dribbled into November as they continued to analyze the skylight. And we'll just keep monitoring that. Future needs in here. The boiler, the pipe that exits the boiler downstairs it almost looks like it's encapsulated in insulation. It's not, it's corrosion. And that is definitely something that is soon. Still waiting on a quote on that from Joe, but it's not, we're putting a dent into the town hall budget within the span of like 2 weeks from that. The chimney happened. The seasonal sort of heating maintenance was set up. And it was like, oh gosh, between the two, it was going to be close to half or I think $10,000 or so budget for repairs and maintenance for town hall. Woodwork on Green Street, talked to Lauren Lou. He's very much in favor of trying to mentor Jeff with some of the repairs on that. Some actually the wood will need to get replaced. That might be a little bit out of our scope, but who knows? Seems like a great opportunity for staff development. And so that's another hit this summer, hopefully. Metal roof repair, you can see the metal from down on the street, even where it's been peeled back by the glacial effect of snow up there. Also actually heard from Lauren Lou is an idea of you can get a mechanical lock seam roof that everything's like essentially fish scaled, so it would just allow that snow to move and not peel everything up. So provided there's still money in that budget, love to address that in the fall. Bell tower and roof repair, I think that might be a little bit further out and sort of maybe even capital improvement list. And then there's painting that's been on there. Seems hard there's evidence of water escaping in those valleys into the fascia. And so it'd be a shame to try and put a bunch of money towards painting and then, but not have some of these other things repaired. So it's town hall. Kendall, yeah, sorry, yeah, great.
Down at the boiler system, there's a lot of pipes.
Yes.
Do you think you could label those on what those pipes did? So if somebody else went down there, they wouldn't have to figure the whole puzzle out again every time they went down there?
Yeah.
Cold in, hot out, gas line
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, there's some verbiage down there right now. And still leaves me scratching my head.
And then last time I was down there, the fire alarm system didn't work. Has that been repaired or?
We had our, Hi Barker came out 3 weeks ago. They said everything was good minus the, one of those dealies right outside this door.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Would it be worth putting in some type of alarm system in case you had a propane leak down there?
Yeah.
And then the last question I have, is there any heat tape up on the roof up here that works?
No,
No. Okay.
I think that's been kind of a scary idea, maybe. I don't know.
That was part of the fire problem a few years ago.
That is, my understanding is what caught the building on fire, so I don't know if it's.
Okay. Okay, now you go to the next one.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate those questions. All right, Kendall Mountain began on the staining, last late summer. Got the northwest wall, then the southwest wall was done recently. And we're kind of queued up to take on the other two walls, going into throughout the summer. And have done that in-house, Jeff and Dave. Big lift there, pretty impressive. The Kendall floor, went ahead and we had a window to get this taken care of. And I ended up just committing to using, our repairs and maintenance to cover this. And would also look for consideration of, I think 20K is there from the capital improvements plan for the floor and insulation. Spoke with Bevan about a prescription on that, insulating the crawl space. Could achieve that, I feel like, in-house potentially, which would end up, well, it'd still be staff time. And then materials, which I kind of was in the ballpark of 5,000 or so. Could do rigid foam board on the outside, in particular on the southeast wall. But there's no insulation on the stem walls or foundation walls of that. And underneath, much of the insulation is down as far as the fiberglass, and we've got an in-floor system. So pretty cold crawl space. Bevan advised blocking up the venting in the crawl space as well. Where I was going with that is potentially some of that covers redoing the floor. The floor was at a place that not addressed could sort of compound things. And then we're replacing flooring as well and not just like a refinish. So felt like it was a good move to do. Entertained two options and went with one that the school actually uses, the guy that we ended up going with. Railing repairs on the southwest deck, that was a concern. I think Sue Morris first brought that to my attention last August. We just finished those up.
You plan on painting the deck too on that south side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all the
All of it?
little,
Okay.
yeah. Northeast deck, calling it a longer term temporary fix. Maybe it's 40 years, maybe it's 10, I don't know, but before the temporary solution was just berming up against the deck. I think that happened 2 years, maybe 3 years ago, maybe more. But there was definitely evidence of that moisture being held by the earth and it affecting the wood, which would have made it all of a sudden a stop and repair now issue. So we pulled that back. Ice water shield and metal on the posts and on the deck that was exposed, or the wood, and have now rebermed earth against that with a plan of boxing that in with some rocks and then using some pavers and You know, in the end, it'll be a bit of staff time, but next to nothing.
It already looks better than it did.
Materials, so that's what's going on there. New appliances, future needs, the next two sides for stain.
Are you gonna get commercial appliances in there when you do that, or are you just gonna get regular?
Well, I ended up just getting, I think I did Black Friday sales or something like that, or, you know, I shopped holiday fire sales and have an oven. Now there's two ovens that work in there. That's nice. I actually spoke with JP earlier today. He's got a sink that might even fit the application, but just a bigger sink and a gooseneck, more commercial level, yep, dispenser of water. And then looking to maybe do like a small like bar sink where the hand washing sink is, but enclose that around with countertop for more prep space. And he's looking to get back to me with some numbers on that. And we'd swap out Hard Rock 100 as a commercial dishwasher, very much like the schools, just a one tray. And that would fit in the space of the current dishwasher. And so we could swap that out. They felt like we could, you know, that right now it's just sitting in an EC. We're storing it for, might as well store it and use it would be the thought. So that's kind of some of the kitchen. Following the crawl space insulation, some of it is gonna be a lot easier to do from outside. Some we might have to attack from the inside, but would look to try and skirt the building and then utilize some of the river rock that's coming out of that pile down at the depot that's getting screened right now. And just kind of make a zero skate border, fire safe border, if you will, around the building. Have a couple further down in the materials. We've got at this point 2 roof repair quotes for that. Starting with just the north valley. And then also key to this repair is a prescription that has some backing that we won't be doing this again in 5 or 10 years. Because I believe the original metal's down at the wastewater treatment plant. And so in 20 years, we've replaced it once already and it is in pretty rough shape, that North Valley. So hopefully, sure this summer, fall, we can have that addressed. One outfit, their main discussion is heat. That's their prescription. Another outfit, they're speaking more to the retention. We can visit that a bit when we hit the directions section. But yeah, for now, as far as Kendall, and we could just jump to the roof further, but a little ways down in the agenda, I've got sort of the segment where I'll be plainly asking for direction. Any sort of follow-up thoughts on Kendall as far as?
Actually, I talked to a couple of people who ran restaurants, and if you do the sink, they said a three divisions on the sink would be best for wash, rinse, and then you've got a place to dry it. I don't know if you have enough room for that, but that's something to consider.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of a thought of, in order to have that, you're gonna look into a bigger overhaul of that cabinetry on the, when you go in and on the right where the sink is. And really, I look at the school and I'm like, gosh, wouldn't it be nice to just have kind of they've got going on when you walk in there? But we'll see. I'll be curious, sort of what JP comes back with some numbers that, you know, and he might have a sink that could almost get just inserted in there. So.
But he has.
But yeah, I think that would be the ideal. Just might then bleed into the next cabinet and then you need to kind of replace that whole zone. But with what fits within the current cabinetry and framing, we have room to go a little bigger, a little deeper that way. And certainly would look to go deeper down. Yeah. Molus, we can jump to that. Issues addressed. These guys have been awesome on addressing the ditch, and that started last fall. Trying to really set us up to catch as much water as we can going into the spring. Continue to monitor the ditch, continue to reinforce areas of weakness. And wish I had a more recent update than maybe well, might have been 2 weeks ago or so. We're up to owning close to a foot. So we only own the top 3 feet once we reach the top of the spillway out of the dam. And we're about 2 feet below that. I have some pretty amazing pictures though, the difference between last fall and now. So, pretty exciting. Got 6 new fire rings for up there. The water system's up and in operation. There's not full combustion going on in the furnace, and have somebody coming up to look at that Thursday. But right now, in the caretaker's cabin where Jennifer lives, but 2 sort of plug-in radiators are kind of keeping it comfortable. There could definitely be some efforts put in up there as far as just the shower house siding. You can kind of see the house wrap through it in places because it's just rotten, and hope to get that taken care of before the winter. I put fall of 2026 would be a good target. Questions on, thoughts on Bolus?
No specific thoughts. I just wanted to say I didn't get a chance, but thanks for all the great questions, Ron. That's really helping. Thank you.
All right, jump to the carriage house. When the roof was taken care of here, there was, many patches put on the carriage house roof. As well, that was part of like a package. Hoping to get them a washer and a dryer this summer. I think they've hoped for that for a while, but had some good chats with Carson about prioritizing getting that taken care of. Future need there though is they kind of estimated you've got 5 to 8 years left for this EPDM, the rubber membrane on that roof. So that would be a good capital improvement kind of plan. Visitor center. I'll pause for a second. Carriage house though, anything there? All right. Visitor center issues addressed. A lot of those screws were backed out, so went with the next size up. And had a local mentoring Jeff actually on that, and they replaced a lot of those. Did some flashing details. There was evidence that the way it was configured before really allowed water to channel in behind the siding. And there's evidence of that water damage. If you look, as you approach to the left, there's a window, and all around the window, the water would have gone down and gone across the top of it and down either side. And so that'll be something for the future to dig into. Also down there, stick with the building, insulating the foundation, infrared camera definitely illustrated that need. And then additional roof work would be good. Also then jumping away from the building in that zone is the ball field. And hoping to continue with enclosing that. I know Jeff spoke to this at the last facilities committee meeting. And and sort of, then it would allow for an enclosed space that could serve as a dog park. So hoping to get through that this summer. Reactivate this irrigation system, during the sanitation survey a couple weeks ago. John spoke to the inspector about the dewatering well and utilizing that, and it seemed like that would not be a problem to reinitiate. There's concerns for that. Violating water rights and such, but I think our concern was put to rest for our pulling water from that dewatering pump, which then is what provides the water for the irrigation system. Yeah. The dewatering pump, for what's that? It's a pump system that essentially sucks the water out from around our lagoons. So if you were to empty the lagoons, that space would fill up with water and then the liners would float. So that kind of pulls the water from the lagoons to allow, say, repair to a lagoon system. Well, we got a great pump in the ground that can fill those pipes. Now we'll just have to investigate where those pipes are still intact and figure out how it all works. So there's been a lot of good use at the baseball field that's been observed. So another goal is to scrape the infield, because it's mostly gravel, or there's a lot of rock, and get a more a crushed red granite, I guess, is the medium that is often used in baseball fields. So that's a hope to achieve this summer. So yeah, any sort of thoughts, questions on that campus?
You were saying that the ball field is also the space to serve as the dog park?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's a place in town that, other than the tennis court, that is enclosed with a fence.
Yeah.
You know, it's
So the dogs will be pooping where they play baseball.
and dog owners should be picking up their dog poop.
I'd put $1 bet on that. It didn't happen.
I don't know that I'd take you on that bet.
Picked out.
That would be a good deal to put the dog park inside the ball field.
So
It needs to be moved someplace else.
Yeah, what opportunities are there? If we don't have any other fenced in area? I don't know.
I'd hope maybe like added signage explaining, you know, the situation could have some more compliance.
Put up a
You know,
$40 trail cam. Just put up a $40 trail cam. People think they're being watched.
You know,
Definitely not.
yeah, that's a good point. I think it can be a privilege that is then, you know, worth, you know, moving forward with it before just saying no, I believe. And then it becomes an issue.
Yeah, out of curiosity, when this was first discussed in committee, was the ball field the only location that had been discussed, or had any
Yeah.
other locations been considered?
That's the only location. And I think as far as like what needs to be invested to then create that space is so minimal compared to say anywhere else. I think another great option that somebody brought up is, you know, fence in the inside of the track. Could be a good location.
Good option.
Now, that's a
For paying for the fence.
much more substantial.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a shame maybe the fence just wasn't relocated from the cemetery and just strung up
You could swap.
there, but
Or could we,
we've got some.
is there a way, if there's some budget for fencing to create the dog park outside of the actual ball field, but utilizing however many linear foot of fence is already there,
Sure.
such as the outfield fence maybe, adding fence to the outfield, like a new square that can act as a dog park.
Then you'd be getting into the trees that I planted there.
I got you. Yeah,
I think in the right field,
I'm not familiar enough with what's there now and what
Yeah.
additional space.
I do think the
Well,
right field.
even on a you know, an infield fence, you know, I think, um, you know, you could, I don't know how much space would really be needed for a dog park. So what we think our use case there is mainly visitors and tourists or locals or both. I'm, you know, not been around for those conversations, so I don't.
I know a lot of locals have expressed a desire for a dog park, but there's also a lot of tourists that stop there. That might be the only place to stop in town with their dog. Ouray has a pretty small dog park. You don't need a lot of room. I'm guessing Ouray's is probably 80 by 120 feet. That's my guess.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's because I believe that's a street right away outside of the right field fence. So that could be a good, explore that.
Yeah.
There's definitely still fence rolled up that could be utilized, but I think a lot is, yeah. There's definitely some scavenging that can happen.
From a labor perspective, you know, I don't know if we can get community work day going or something like that to, you know, help take some of the burden off of your staff. And if folks are excited about it, you know, I'm sure that people would come out and, you know, lend a hand.
Yeah. And I know there is a plan to eventually pull all the posts around the cemetery as well. So those could just
Yeah.
be purpose.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder, since we are seeing increased use at the ball field already this summer, if, if we're creating that dual use space, especially with dog waste, if we are kind of setting ourselves up for a bit of a butting of heads.
Conflict.
Yeah, or contention, so. But yeah, obviously material costs. And we're considering a different location.
Yeah, I think it's like if you build it, they will come on both fronts there, right? You know, so if a lot of folks have already expressed interest in a dog park, you know, plus tourism and all of the visitors that stay right there at that Red Mountain, is that what it's called? Campground and everything there. And then as well, I just think, you know, more field space gets more activity out, whether it's, you know, the community baseball group that's starting to play there more and more, or, you know, kickball or softball or all sorts of things, you know. So I'm really excited about the potential with that ball field.
There had been a pretty regular, the Mount Man softball tournament. I think brought 10 teams to town, 10 to 15 teams to town every summer, end of August. So the time where things were slowing down, had really good turnout. So there's, as far as return on that investment into the ball field, I think there stands that opportunity.
Awesome.
All right. Any more down on that campus or front? Kick on to Memorial Park. Pretty insignificant, yet, a new urinal in there is a pretty good thing in one of the bathrooms. Landscaping around the white lettering of Silverton Memorial Park that drew a lot of attention. It was interesting. I think some folks spoke to the fact they didn't even know there was anything spelled on the hillside there. So that was a fun achievement over there. Looking into the future, there's been definitely some folks expressing concern for the gazebo roof, which certainly you can just stand under there and see that it needs repair. Seems like it would benefit to expand the electrical capacity over there. There's a couple of power posts already, but for the Memorial Day ceremony, that is serviced by a couple extension cords pieced together running from the bathroom. So even say getting it to the gazebo, and then even further on over to the tennis courts in that region, I think would be something that could improve options there. So being able to facilitate other events. Struck me recently, if you blew the ceiling out, put a window in up near the peak of those restrooms, you'd actually get some natural light in there, which seems like something worth trying to figure out at some point in the not too distant future. Come up with an old window, put it in. No.
Gazebo is the big thing. Needs paint, roof needs help.
Yep.
Clean that up, make it look good, because we do rent that out.
Yep. Yeah, and there's some options later on that I had with an attachment for different, I guess, synthetic materials that are sort of made to look to match the cedar shake kind of look, and definitely concern for wildfire, and either of those synthetic materials are more fire resistant, more compatible for wildfire. Yeah. I did come across an old quote for that roof. I've not gotten any new ones, but the estimate was 15,000, and this the time frame, there isn't a date, but it was Beth Kramer was San Juan Development Association. I think that was the beginning of San Juan Development. So I think we're talking decades, maybe. So, but we'll look to get some other information as far as costs for that. And when you're looking at the two roofs of Kendall and the gazebo, can't help but look to Kendall as having a greater consequence of letting water through. But yeah, so that's just kind of where the lens or angle that kind of looking at those two situations, or 4 buckets at town hall seemed like the first roof to address. So yeah. Other thoughts on Memorial Park?
Maybe paint the doors to the bathrooms.
All right. That whole bathroom, if you look at the Cement Creek side up high, it's peeled open like a book in places with paint. It's just, yeah. Believe the gazebo, Mike Garrick painted everything within ladder reach. Is that
He did all the lower stuff, but
last year?
if it got certain height, he wasn't able to do any more.
Yeah.
Higher, so he did, I think, all the stuff down at the bottom.
Okay. All right, moving on to sort of where love some direction. And I've got Kendall campus is kind of a major focus here. And so we've got the crawl space and 20K allocated for that, and looking to say free up about 15 or so if with 5K on materials. And if this could go towards either the roof or, portion of the floor refinish, which was just over 10K. And so, and that, I felt comfortable with still continuing forward if it was just out of, repairs and maintenance, but feel like that would be worth asking for direction on.
Do you, you and your crew feel like, you have the capacity to take on the crawl space and house, and it's not gonna be stretching the crew too thin or anything like that?
I believe between now and next winter, depending on, a lot of, feel like we could be done potentially with staining with weather cooperation and hitting those windows by the end of June. And then some of that's gonna have to be strategically woven into the sort of occupancy at Kendall, can't have to kind of shut things down at times. But definitely that east wall will be an easier one to address. Or southeast wall. Yeah,
I think we can start earlier in the morning because we get the morning sun on that southeast wall. So that'll be one thing that'll be to our advantage.
yep, for the staining, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely, it can be within, our crew's capacity of John Allen, who was a lifty this last year. I've gotten to have him get involved with some of the deck railing replacement or repair, not replacement, but repair there. And then some of the carpentry work that was required on the northeast deck. Sort of reinforcing things with bolts, or not reinforcing, but essentially you had a 6-pack of 2x10 or 12 that was just kind of like slowly coming apart, and it wasn't placed on the posts in a way that everything was transferred into the post. So I think that contributed possibly to this splaying apart, but that's all been through bolted and just areas where we could sort of harden things up, and so.
And we figured out where all the animals were coming in the crawl space so we can block that off and not have that problem again.
Well, we got the Orchid Man on the scene, but I do like this idea of shutting out down the vents,
Close the vents though, that'll block the cross circulation and then you'll probably end up having mold issues.
Yeah. I think that's a real concern. Bevan and I have crawled around down there, and times I've been down there, granted, this isn't the most representative of years as far as moisture. But it was one solution to that would be then you get an air exchange system down there. If it indeed comes to warrant that you need that. I think a good piece to the sort of the final bit of once you get skirting around it. So if you put blue board, say, against the wall, then you need to skirt it with metal, that foundation wall. But then before putting your river rock down, put an impermeable surface and have it sloped so you shed water away, 5 feet, maybe more from the building. Also, the water table is not too far away, so I think, yeah, I hear your concern there. So,
Are the vents currently like a louver that can be closed and opened?
They're just kind of a event without any active system to it. Yeah. I don't know, there's
So those vents do keep,
4 or so.
they keep birds and other animals out?
Uh,
Got grates on them or something?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
birds, yes. Feel confident with that one.
Yeah.
Marmots, most likely, yes. Little golden squirrels, yes. Mice,
Right.
don't know.
Maybe just having some sort of cover for those vents that would allow us to kind of keep it warmer in there when it's really cold, but also allow like on nice days to open it up. And then of course, and seasonally come spring, summer, help mitigate some of that built up moisture that may or may not be there. But yeah, I mean, my experience is in a much, more moisture rich place, but getting rid of vents on a crawl space sounds concerning to me.
So some of this leads me to think, there's a thought of continuing to keep that money invested into that crawl space. Is that, that would be an interpretation from some of the concerns that you raise. With the venting and also staff capacity, that's kind of a.
I guess I don't understand, like, what are the thoughts on how it would trickle down otherwise? I mean, I see here that like it could free up money for the roof, so otherwise we don't have any budgeted money right yet for the roof.
Correct.
Okay. And
There
then
was this capital improvement line of 20,000 for the crawl space.
I see.
It was established, I'm not sure, sometime last year. It was before I began in this role, would be my timeline on that. So, would still look to entertain some of these costs, but the visit with Bevan was kind of, I felt, affirming to the idea of addressing it possibly in-house. In which case, it seems like there would be some, if you pulled from that 20,000, just get materials and the crew takes on the project. The money's coming out of payroll, the general fund versus out of this capital improvement line item. Does then that available for other big projects like that we would not be taking on in-house, like the roof or the floor system. I think there was opinions like, or the floor refinish. Like, oh, you could do that in-house. I got to go down that road at the camp that I was helping run, and it quickly became apparent to just try and do that in-house. Let the flooring folks come in and do the floor. So, but like from that past experience, just chose to let the folks that do flooring refinishes their work. So,
I mean,
I hope that doesn't.
idea if you think your team can handle it to try to save money there. I don't know what y'all think, but
Yeah, a quick question, just This is kind of going off of the wildfire preparedness meeting we had the other week, but would say like these vents in the crawl space, would these be candidates for something like that 1/8 of an inch mesh? So maybe addressing two needs, keeping animals out and also for, ambient
Yeah.
control. Just a thought, I know this kind of
Yeah,
going in a different direction right now, but. Just a thought.
could be the attic. It'd be wise to go up into the attic again and look at that screening. Yeah. On that note.
So yeah, hearing some favor for addressing the crawl space in-house, freeing up maybe upwards of 15,000, which we could then consider, right, plugging into the roof or the many other needs at Kendall. Is that sounding appropriate to everyone? Okay.
Carl? Does that sound? Is that?
Yeah, it does. Thank you for checking in. Sorry, I didn't want to talk over anybody. Yeah, no specific thoughts, but yeah.
And then I guess, Steve, are you looking for direction right now on where to like potentially allocate that additional 15, or is that a future question?
That's a great question.
That like, is there a particular project that out of the ones that were mentioned that is like more priority seemingly, or you're looking to put that towards, or?
I'd welcome that direction. And I think is that enough to put all towards that North Valley and put that concern to bed? No, given the information thus far, but does it contribute? Sure. I'd be looking at,
Let's see where we are with money.
Yeah.
First project done.
sure.
Yeah, I think it could be helpful maybe for the next committee meeting. To maybe we could have a prioritization of the competing demands for that freed up 15,000. And so yeah, that way make a informed decision.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, if I understand this correctly, I mean, that's kind of a drop in the bucket on the roof here. Is are you talking about the Northeast Valley Phase 1?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's, if we don't have a plan for the rest of the budget there, that would be tough. And then so seems like that just putting that money towards the floor refinishing, if that's a big need, getting that done might make a lot of sense. Of course, probably need to wait and see how much money we do save on the project, before allocating that. But if I understand it correctly, let me know if that makes sense, that it might be harder to put that money towards the roof if we don't have the rest of the money for the roof.
Right.
Whereas, that savings would be enough to cover the floor refinish.
I will make a note as well, just so y'all are aware, it should be added to this capital improvements list, would be the haul rope. That was 1 millimeter away from failing its inspection this year. Straying from this agenda, I don't think this was on there. And feel like it should be verbalized at some point. My goal was this meeting. And we're looking at close to, that the sort of the estimate from then was, close to 60,000.
What was it?
The haul rope. So the rope that all the chairs are attached to. Now 1 millimeter, that could last us 10 years. That could last us, who knows, 1 year, and Jeff was present for that inspection. And just kind of calking it out with Grady, and he spoke to a number, I believe, that day. I think maybe in the 40 to 50 or
Yeah, the guy said that be 40,000, I think, if we could do it in-house.
Okay, yep. And Grady has already schemed and imagined what it might look like to try and do it in-house. And it was it's like, all right, we got the big equipment, so. But not just some sort of, it's something to plan for.
Yeah.
So
What's the trickle down on that? Like, is there like will the new line fit in the current bull wheels fine? And, or is there other componentry that like, you fix one thing and then you kind of have to fix the next thing?
good question. I think you mentioned the bull wheel. That is not as major a issue relining it, but that'll need to be done here in the near future as well. But I think it just is you connect the new rope to the splice and, pull the old one and pull the new one up. Yeah. Not quite as easy as that. As easy as that. Fortunately, you've got all this room to run off into the field with, and pull things and yeah, so. But.
But making that repair doesn't necessarily
Require-
create problems with the rest of the system.
Correct.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah. That's a good question. Good question. Thank you. All right. We'll look for as far as this lighting idea, I'd love to continue to explore. We have the poles from the old entry signs. They've gotten pulled and there's still integrity to them. So have them over staged at Kendall with the idea of setting them to illuminate the ice rink further. Currently just one street light is pretty significant on what it offers. So, and then also for illuminating the base area and allowing to reduce the number of light plants and towers that we rent, and also continuing to look and into purchasing of a light plant that would sort of couple for, serving public works. And they make them with generators. The gentleman that Mr. Weber made snow last year, he utilized the generator to operate his trailer. And so it'd just be one little sort of small piece of the generator puzzle. But
Lighting for the ice skating or the ski area?
both.
Both?
Yeah.
Have enough lights to do night skiing then?
Well, we'd still need light plant rentals, but looking to eliminate, rental. So right now I think we rent 3 or 4. And so it seems to be that if we had some added just lighting on these posts down at the base area, you'd eliminate that light plant. And then if we were to purchase a light plant, then all of a sudden we're looking at maybe just needing to go get one. A single trip with the goal of, purchasing an additional one in the future. And yeah, and I feel like it'd be a wise pursuit, and certainly feel like sharing this thought process with you all and asking for requesting direction to continue down that road, but
Say pursue it,
Yeah.
where it goes.
Figure out, what costs look like to get lights hung up there and, get power to them and everything like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You good with that, Carl?
Yes, thanks again for checking in.
thank you. All right, this is one just to put on your radar and where it stands. We asked for this letter of support for Mile High Jeep Club and Jeff to go to his board with. He came back to me with a, sort of looking at our facility rental rates and asked of a consideration of 7,500 for this 10-day window. Provides a bunch of numbers as far as people, and that will be brought to town, kind of speaks to the fact that not all of them will be camped there. I think a very pointed question from multiple trustees in that letter of support was, we're not giving anything away and there's no freebies, which I appreciated that question. So feel like just wanted to, yeah, I guess get it.
What would it be if we didn't give them a discount for the 10 days?
It's a little tricky to tease out. And the price on 201 to 250 campers per day is $1,500. They'd be utilizing the lodge for storage, but not for gathering. But very much would sort of deem the lodge unrentable, I feel like, it's not really a desired rental anymore. There's a 25% for non-local nonprofits, excluding peak weekends. So the weekend total for the lodge is roughly $7,000. The weekday total is roughly $1,880. The field camping, I put that at about 12, thinking like 8 days of camping. They have a setup day, a breakdown day for the organization, but don't see those as like, your peak camping. So that then gets us to about almost 20,000. Taylor kind of responded with to just rent it for 2 weekends for weddings. We'd be looking at 14,000. So I kind of mentioned that to them. They are a 501c7, so they are a nonprofit. So that's where I do bring that, 25%.
We need to bring this up from the whole board.
I believe that, yeah, it would kind of. And thank you. That's where I wanted to make you aware of this and get your take. And, and he brings up many of the points that got me excited to even entertain this, just request of, could we rent Kendall? And that it does have a good impact on the community overall and business and, has a good reputation. So,
Yeah, we could bring this to one of our June board meetings. And so certainly if they need immediate communication, we can just let them know that probably by early July at the latest, we'd have some direct input on what we'd want to charge for the use of Kindle.
They're proposing the 7,500 to include the camping and the rental of the lodge.
yes, with the idea they don't really use the lodge for anything but storage. But
It's kind of
and you could rent the lodge was their take, but I'm like, let's be real. No.
yeah. To me, that seems like too much of a discount.
Yeah. A little light.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if we should respond there, or you think we should just work with the whole board on
I
that?
think we need to work with the whole board.
Yeah. I agree.
Currently, we're gonna move, this would be I guess, vision of the agenda. We'll jump to tent purchase. Um, so down to so Sarah Moore and Jackson Perry, who are getting married first weekend of September, have asked if there would be interest in, instead of them renting a tent, they use that money they would spend on a rental to contribute in the purchase of a tent by town. I think I could get more detail on storage, but I feel like with our, perhaps with our added dump shed and the old rope tow, or we can explore storage. I guess the 18 wheelers over in the pole barn at Public Works could be another option, as far as, like, you got to think about that as well. But the return on this seems to be pretty minimal number of rentals, say 5 to 8 rentals to return on that investment. In communicating with insurance, they felt like that would be an add-on. As far as it would increase our potential for loss, but coverage could extend. Their biggest point was having appropriate staff training for setting up the tent.
What's the price of a new tent? I didn't see that in there, I guess.
I did not have that price.
We'd have to definitely do some more research, but it looks like for a 40 by 60, you're looking at perhaps anywhere from, I would say, 7 to 10,000 range. And depending on, I think the example that Sarah has included in her letter, if you click on that hyperlink, doesn't include sides. And so that's the rough price range for, again, a 40 by 60 without sides. You add sides and the price goes up quite a bit. Yeah. I was just curious when folks are reaching out about renting facilities, whether Kendall or one of the parks, has that questions about availability of a tent ever, is that a common question, asking if we have that available? Or I don't doubt that it would be, a popular thing to offer as a rental, but I'm just curious if we've seen that demand.
I can speak a little.
Yeah.
Because I get calls for rental stuff. We do frequently get questions about what is available
Mhm.
in terms of like chairs, tables, like kind of the sets. So I couldn't say, if that's like a super desired item, but there's frequently like, what are our options?
Okay.
So, and then pricing tiers is determined by fee schedule and Taylor and how we do that. So.
Yeah, okay.
And then I would say, like, what other agencies would make use of this as well? The creative district comes to mind, someone who might be also renting tents. I don't know if they own that or rent that for where they kind of have like their green room, so to speak, for their musicians and whatnot. So I didn't know if there's other partners that might find this a win-win, whether it's, they help us invest in it or are committed to rent it from us to help us pay for it. But yeah, and if we don't have a set price on it, but it takes 8 rentals to cover it, 8 times 2,000, 16,000. So imagine these tents are somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, the 5 to 8 rental, that's kind of what.
Yeah, so using rough numbers and rounding up, 15 to 20,000 for a nice big old tent to own. It's probably what would we be looking at?
And my thought on that would be, we have to put it up, we have to take it down, we have to maintain it, we have to make it clean. I think we'd be better off renting the tent from someone else, mark the price up, let them take it up, set it down, care for it in between the rentals.
Like, reach out to, say, a tent rental company and we do a long-term rental for the summer season, and then they are responsible for the setup and take.
Set up, take down, cleaning it.
I like this idea and thought.
And we're just kind of brokering the sale and
Yeah.
Yeah,
just 10 or 15% or something like that.
And that way we don't have any maintenance issues. We don't have.
Don't add insurance liability.
Plus you need storage facilities if you own the
Kind
tent.
of like, it has to be clean because it'll probably be a white tent.
Yeah.
They can get dirty pretty easy.
Yeah, I like that idea too.
Too. So. Chris, the idea too about partners, had Silverton Mountains reached out before to us for like renting like tables and chairs and stuff like that. So as an idea, they might be someone to ask about if they regularly do events or things. And if that would be something they want to jump in on, is kind of the only route around it.
Yeah.
But I think they come to us first before going to Durango or Montrose.
Sure.
So
Do you know if they're mainly trying to do their events up at the ski area or are they hosting people in town?
like ski area stuff.
Yeah.
So I know that the last I don't know about cadence. That would be the question, I think.
Right.
But they've sourced from us before for like North Face shoots and things like that when they're like, oh, we need some additional just stuff for infrastructure.
And what have we been able to provide? What do we have?
Oh, like tables, chairs.
Tables and chairs.
That kind of thing. So I'm thinking if we're talking about this kind of rental or this kind of purchase or something, they might be someone to just pick their brains, be like, do you guys have a lot? Would you want to go in on something or would you benefit from that kind of thing?
Okay.
So they do have enough things in here that I think that would be someone should reach out.
Yeah, so as a follow-up, I think, perhaps for the next committee meeting, we could get some firm numbers on price. So we could see what it would cost to purchase outright. Reach out to partners just to see if there's opportunities to partner on the purchase. Or what expected usage we would see. And then reach out to one of these companies and see what sort of terms of long-term, a summer-long rental would look like for us. And I do apologize, I have to run to another meeting, but it might be short. So if you're still going, I'll come back up and join you for the remainder.
Hope we're gone by the time your meeting's over.
I hope so too.
we're getting close here, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's a good, yep. And I'll look to see what I can accomplish here in the near, before this offer, say, expires, I think, by. I think that offer will expire here soon. All right. Frisbee golf, disc golf, and there's a lot of momentum over there. And I guess, looking for support with a sort of expansion that has a light approach currently in its, evolution. And, so we're looking to, we have a map that shows where they're adding holes. They did find there is a private property issue with one of the holes, and they've adjusted this since this has been sent to you all to stay off of that hole. Hole 4, yep. Stay off of the private land. But I think this provides a dual sort of purpose, an opportunity in sort of expanding the length of trail network. And so in a sense, through this adding 9 holes or 10 holes to the Frisbee golf course, you'd end up with a trail system connecting the tees and the baskets. And there's bunch of grant opportunities that were recommended that we look for. I believe we'll need letters of support from the board or you all in these grant pursuits. I think any of the matching funds we would be looking at coming from local businesses, organizations, and in-kind work. Asked any work that's done, advise that they keep track of those hours as far as volunteer work. And just looking for an adoption of this plan.
If it doesn't cost us any money, I would be supportive of it. It costs us some money. It needs to go before the full board. Probably both ways it probably should.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. But yeah, how do we get the money before having to execute everything without, it's the town sitting there waiting to get reimbursed, I guess, for.
And I expressed, I don't feel like there's money in the budget. It's really hard when you look at metal flapping on the roof to be committing dollars towards expansion of, what's already I mean, I feel like there isn't enough use to warrant a statement of, well, it has to expand because it's so overrun with use. Does the use speak to the great benefit in having a larger disc golf course? Absolutely. And if there's the volunteer energy there, I thought it was kind of, move ahead. We can provide a letter of support in which we speak to in kind being the match. Say there's sponsorship of holes was the idea as well.
Like your idea of letter of support.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to approve the use of it and help them start going for these grants. Is that right?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
It would, it needs to be endorsed or signed by, say, the director. The director has to do the grant work. And would look at the added capacity with Patrick on board as kind of providing that. I
happen to also be looking at a quote here on, I think, what they're looking for. And this is for 18 baskets. So are they intending to do all new baskets? Is that the idea?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Um,
Well, regardless, if they're the, you know, if we're endorsing their, you know, grant requests and, endorsing the use of the land and, you know, doing what we can do to be wind in the sail, I'm all for it. I would think that, you know, I don't know how to best structure the fundraising. Seems like that could be, on the group, the energy that's putting all that together. But yeah, like I could raise my hand as a local business owner that I'd be down to help out with sponsorship of the whole. And so, you know, I would imagine you go around town, you'll get, you know, again, more wind in that sail. So, yeah, I'm all for, you know, saying yes to, you know, whatever helps them keep going forward.
Okay.
Allowing them to fundraise.
yeah, there seems to be a lot of energy. There's, you know, the thought that there are several businesses or organizations that would contribute. And I think also you know, been approached about the potential for running races. I know the KT race was a pretty, I gather, well-attended race on the KT loop, a little 24-hour circuit event is my understanding, and see this as kind of an opportunity to broaden that trail system. Also observe a pretty good number of folks walking that trail, you know, so added to the trail system. I think it was brought up encouraging directional use of it so that you're going with the flow of play would then sort of help alleviate any sort of user conflicts that could result from, you know, sort of a multi-use. But that's definitely been part of my conversation with them. It's that multi-use approach. And
I will say having a tournament here on a 18-hole course, that would be a big draw for town. I think you would get a lot of people coming up from the, you know, region to play that. Sounds like the Durango Disc Golf Club is willing to get involved, so that's exciting.
We have discs at Kendall.
no,
For
that's a
rental?
good idea.
If there was investment, that might be like a set or two, might be more minimal cost once the course is more built out. If there's some kind of summer. One-off.
Got a future, yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's like a number of retailers that deal in used as
Yeah.
well, so maybe there's some way to get into some stock that's, you know, somewhat inexpensive for rent or even sale.
Yeah, like Play It Again in Junction or something like that.
Yeah. I think I've heard of one in Montrose that has quite a bit of inventory.
As far as clarity for sort of endorsing this land use, is that we feel like there's consensus with you all for sort of giving them that full endorsement? That way, thinking about Carl, but I don't see Carl.
Letter of support.
Yeah.
Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I'm for endorsing their usage of it.
I can follow up with
Well, you keep the
a letter of support.
from the wedding parties, because that's kind of like different types. They don't like each other so much.
Oh, right.
And I think that all takes place on the north side.
Yep.
And I gather in the initial exploration of this, there was that user conflict, which and directed everything that way. So, um, and not sure the story of where, there's no rental of the north side, which historically, a ways back, that is where camping occurred, was sort of north of the ice rink. This Mile High Jeep Club references this, that in the past, when they've used Kendall, they've had folks camped there as well. So,
And currently it's the lodge and parking and the field to the
south.
other side, and then the rest of that, what about the rest of the area, like towards Kendall Mountain Road and towards the river? Do they spread out?
Not on the other side of the Kendall Mountain Road.
I do
It's
not.
all between the Kendall Mountain Road, sort of Beaver Pond
Yep.
space, the building, and the entry into the parking.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just really kind of minimal on that east side of the building where the Hard Rock Holiday kind of operates. That's
Yeah.
kind of the extent of how far north on the east side of the building that use goes.
Yeah, so the disc golf is pretty much separate from all that.
Yes.
So, great.
I think it also definitely warrants discussion in the future, kind of the precedent of events where that space is utilized north of the ice rink. And it would be kind of I guess this would kind of allow for still plenty of disc golf to occur and sort of increased opportunity for event space and rental revenue. Like, when say the Jamboree or I guess the Jubilee was before. Also over there.
Is there always public access to, in this case, the disc golf course or the mountain or the trail or the mountain bike trail, the trail to Lackawanna, even though there be a rental or an event happening? Or does an event ever close public access to those facilities?
I'm not aware of any event
Okay, great.
access.
I just don't know enough about it.
I will look to get a letter of support together. Endorsing the land use. And I get as specific as any sort of matching funds being either in kind from volunteers or through organizations and businesses that are sponsoring, but not from general fund or operations budgets.
Right.
So the last piece here was on the skating trail that I was approached by an individual, Jeremiah Kane, who referenced these skating trails in Minnesota, Michigan, and Canada. They offered, say, private funding to help purchase Zamboni tractor attachment. And then say initial grading if required. and it's been interesting to explore this. Seems like a really great opportunity for when, like a low snow year, like when we just, and speaking with our insurance visitor who who I emailed a while back. He said, I'm still doing my research on this. This was May 13th. And I emailed him a good ways ago. But I'm looking for, I guess, direction to continue to explore this opportunity. I think it would double dip, but if we were to create a product that this crush refines material type of trail system that we're looking for with the perimeter trail, that you'd be able to pack that snow and then make ice on it. And the immediate concerns from insurance were kind of ADA access and how that would be supported, sort of closure of it and enforcing closure of it. But they certainly felt like they had more research to do. So I think, I need to continue to be a squeaky wheel with them to sort of get clearance with this type of sort of facility offering, if you will. But I feel like it's definitely something that should be put before you all to get your take on it.
I guess my initial thought is get back with us when you have more information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of it. I see like, on this page, it's why this at Silverton is financially feasible with limited town financial support. What is that town financial support look like, right? Like what's it gonna cost? Is always a good first question.
That is.
And if there's a bunch of outside funding opportunities here, and I mean, if we can market this, and I think it's one more thing to just really raise our flag as outdoor recreation, as a destination for that. This definitely fits in that. So I'm very interested. It sounds awesome.
And Steve, with the insurance question, my understanding is these things are pretty comparable to like cross-country skating trails. I don't know if that might be an idea to broach with the rep.
Like
Yeah,
Okay.
I know the bindings are the same on some of the skates. Some people have these ice skates that are longer, and then it uses actually the same NNN bindings that they have on the cross-country skis. So it might be an idea for saying we already do cross-country, what additional insurance or whatever, it seems like that might nip that in the bud.
I'm interested in the potential rental revenue boost as well. If we're already renting skates, how many more skates would we rent? And then I've always thought it'd be a good idea to have potentially a private partner, or if we can do it in-house, expand and do more with cross-country skiing as well. Especially if we get, our facilities continue to grow down the new county road that's gonna get put back in, things of that nature. Again, just becoming a destination for this could, be a good return on investment.
So I'll figure out more on my understanding that town financial support really is more in the staffing, fuel. Yeah.
Nice.
Just one other question, would the Zamboni attachment be useful for the normal ice rink? So I kind of doubled it.
Yeah. I guess I would rewind real quick to that Kendall roof piece if you, I'll just take another, sorry. I don't know that, my understanding would be if, once we explore this crawl space, completing that, we have dollars there. From that allocated capital improvement line. Would be a time to then revisit, could we get phase one of the roof done? I just don't really see where money is set aside to do that. And feel like it's important to have that information of what needs to happen and how much it costs. Also because unaddressed, what that may lead to further in the future is just that much more. So,
Is this the only bid we have?
we've got a Alpenglow and we've got a Kinetic. So the operation that did our EPDM up here.
We got two bids in.
Yep. So at this point, we've got two bids. What I'm still trying to get out of Kinetic is their prescription, which I've only heard discussion of heat. So do matting underneath the metal or cords in the valleys. And in asking for sort of the retention piece, there's definitely a hesitation to hang their hat solely on retention without heat, where Alpenglow feels confident with retention being the prescription and a solution. And if you were to hold the glaciers in place, I guess you wouldn't carve a valley, right? It's kind of, I think there's a lot, to me, it seems logical that way. This seems like a great, if I thought this would be a great demonstration piece up here for potential retention and its function. I also find Lauren Lou's thought of a mechanically locked system that doesn't have any seam to grab would allow that glacier to flow or that roof snow to flow and not pull everything up. So, but definitely, certainly something that it's gonna cause to lose sleep over. The place we had water dripping, fortunately, was not from there this winter, but it was not the first time water has dripped, given the damage to the drywall in Kendall. We were able to sniff that out and I think repair that. But definitely a point of concern. Place to definitely come budget season, if it's not, addressed by then. Be prepared to say prioritize. So. Future meetings, Tuesday's good for Chris. It's my understanding. Whole day.
Yep.
Ron?
Worked.
Okay. Carl?
Yeah, sorry I was a little late today, and that I had to join remotely, but Tuesdays does work. 4:30 is better.
All right, thank you. And cadence on that or cycle? How often would you all feel would be appropriate timing, like sort of intervals?
Based on some direction you've received and information you need to, follow up on. to use this next one as an example, like how much time do you think you need to kind of get some answers to some of these questions and be reasonable follow-up? We talking 2 weeks, monthly?
Months, definitely over 2 weeks. 3 months seems like be hard to keep things rolling, you know? So yeah, could look at a June meeting, late June.
Towards the end of the month then, and
Yeah,
yeah.
so,
And if you're looking for a consistent cadence, maybe it's monthly.
yeah. Hopefully that can keep it a little more brief. Less, little less material, generating and allowing time for implementation. So, all right. And on that note, anything else? Yeah. We call it adjourned.
Right.
That's 5:53.
I do have a question for you after the meeting. Where are we on the bridge for Cement Creek? Is anything happening with that?
Oh. Yeah, so SCORE, I can tell you about that, at least our really good avenue of grant funding that would be kind of coupled in with this, the CWCB funds of $1 million and the 1.72 of NRD funds. There's direction from the state to, they need a priority plan in place and finalized. That was not the case. I'm trying to think of timing, but that was not the case at like the beginning of April. So the plan was for the Southwest Colorado Conservation Outdoor Recreation Roundtable to have their priority plan in place. They're eyeing fall and even into 2027.
So it's a while. It's gonna be a distant deal.
It actually may line out really well as far as, because they're looking to now, instead of split this dollar value between 3 projects, they're looking to have it go towards one landscape impact project, which would then have us looking to be endorsed by the roundtable for 2.5 million versus like 500,000. And with the timing of getting a priority plan finalized and published, that would line up to go for the next cycle of grant funding of the 2.5 million.
Which is next year sometime?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Yep.
Just as a side note,
Thank you.
Sarah told us one time that the railroad, they were exploring that option.
The railroad putting in a bridge.
Might be interested.